Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us right here on The Mike Lee Show, sponsored by the one and only Miss Jamie Foster Brown, her sister to sister 2.0. And today, I am honored to have a dear, dear friend with me, but really, she's an icon. She is an icon here in Washington, D.C., but around the world. She's the one and only Miss Sylvia Traymore Morrison. That's like ketchup, mayonnaise, mustard. It's a brand, y'all. Sylvia Traymore Morrison, right here on the Mike Lee Show. The last time I saw her was 2019. We were
Yeah,
in my radio station here in DC,
right.
Radar Radio, and that was the last time we had a great time. She brought books. She had all the stuff in. We had food. I think it was somebody's birthday. I don't know if it was mine or yours, because we're both in December. But that was the
Right.
last time I saw you.
You know what, Mel? I just got one of your pictures off the internet. The one that it was like a cartoon picture, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I posted it, and I was telling people, I was telling my family, my social media family, and they're all loving it. And I'm so excited that you're coming here for the 25th, and the fact that you're actually going to sing a song, and my favorite
Wow,
song.
Sylvia, how are you doing?
Mike, first of all, let me tell you something. Nobody can mix up words like you. You just said mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup. But I'm like, I ain't even never heard that before, but I absolutely love it. And I'm doing just fine, just fine.
Yeah,
And
and
I
I
had my
said
bout
that.
with, oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, no, no. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when I saw you, shortly after I last saw you, I had my bout with COVID.
Mm-hmm. And
And
wrote a
I
book
mean,
about it.
oh, Mike, I was so sick. I would just get angry when I hear people say it's fake, it's fake. I'm like, no, 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 it's not fake. No. But other than that, when I recovered, it's been soaring. It's been like,
Mm-mm-mm.
yeah,
Matter of fact, you wrote a couple of books, which is tell us about that. Me, Satan, and what is it? Me, Satan, and God,
it's me, Satan, God, and COVID
and
because all
COVID.
four of us were in the room together.
That's
Yep,
right. That's right. But let's talk about your book, because you wrote about your
I
experience
did.
with COVID.
I did because it was so outlandish. My experience was so like from another planet because um, I just couldn't imagine being that sick and not dying. I couldn't even imagine. As a matter of fact, there came a time I was quarantined for like 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
And of the 14 days, I'm going to say 12 of them, I almost couldn't move.
Mm.
I remember there's a highlight in my book that I don't like to talk about because I like for people to receive the shock of it. But since I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking to you, I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had one night. Um, I was so sick. I was really okay with dying. I was really okay with dying. I couldn't the nauseousness, the horror of not being able to turn over, the whole sickness of being almost blind, and
Mm-hmm.
just I was in the bed one night and I'd been on the same side for about 8 hours. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to turn over to get off the one side. And I don't know, these may have been hallucinations. I don't know. But I remember turning over, Mike, and I saw this big, giant black blob of ush.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the bed with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like it had fists and something inside of it trying to punch out of it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, this could have been
Mm-hmm.
hallucination. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at this thing and I can't move. And I'm thinking, what is that? Because I had a dress that I loved. It was a yellow dress mixed with
Mm-hmm.
all different color flowers. And it was in the bed too, on its side.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so sick. I called my oldest daughter and I told her, I said, Jasmine, look, I'm I'm sick. I mean, I'm like really sick. If
Mm-hmm.
I die, because people were dying.
We were dying.
At that time, people were dying.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said, if I'm dying, understand that I'm okay.
Mm.
And I said, call Michelle. I can't, this is about all the talking I can do. And she said, Mommy, no, no, don't say that. I said, Jasmine, I can't do this anymore. So when I got off the phone with her and
When
I'm
you said I'm okay, were you meaning spiritually okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay with leaving. I'm okay.
spiritually,
Okay.
physically, all of that, because it was so bad. I'd lost my taste buds, I'd lost my smell
Yeah.
buds. My throat felt like somebody had a knife down in it and was just rubbing the knife all around in it.
Yeah.
Um, and just when I mean, my fever was like unspeakable. It was a horrible demonic situation for me.
Mm.
And I remember a voice came, because I had just about given up. I just about given up my will. And a voice, and I believe it was my mother's voice, because my mother's been dead since 1977.
Mm-hmm.
And the voice said, "What is wrong with you? Why are you speaking like that? Have you even asked God yourself to
Wow.
bless you? Everybody's praying for you, but have you prayed for yourself?"
Wow. This came to you.
Just a voice, just like that. And
Unbelievable.
I believe it was my mother. I almost cry every time I talk about it. But when
Wow.
she went away, I laid there in the bed and I see this glob, this black, I don't even know what to call it. It was just a nasty, big old black, round, shiny bit
Mm-hmm.
of ush. And I remember saying, "God, will you help
Mm.
me?" Mike,
Oh, wow.
in that moment, I'm
Mm.
not going to say I got well,
Mm-hmm.
but a little bit of relief happened.
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
Just a little bit,
yeah.
enough for me not to want to die.
Mm.
And, I was like, if I had to go to the back, this is graphic, and I'm going to tell you because I wrote it in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But when I would go to the bathroom, it was like when I went to the bathroom, I released long black snakes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like 20, 30 of them,
Mm-hmm.
tiny, skinny snakes that crawled around. Oh, I'm sorry, it's graphic, but I'm just telling you
No, but that
what
was
I
your
went through,
experience. No, I understand.
And
Yeah.
so I was able to get up and walk. I could get up and walk. So my friend was here with me. He stayed with me the whole while. The
Mm-hmm.
whole and never got COVID. It was like God sent him to take care of me. He never got
Are
COVID.
you kidding me?
I, and I had COVID in October 2020. That's when it was rampant. So I went out into the living area where he was sitting, and he said, "Oh, you're up and walking." So I explained to him, oh, I forgot to tell you this part. I forgot to say this part. When I
Mm-hmm.
asked God to help me, there was a loud crack in the room. Like a crack. I don't even know what kind of crack it
Out of
was.
nowhere.
Just as soon as I said the words, "God, will you help me?"
Mm.
Just a moment after that, something said, I don't even know what kind of crack it was.
Mm-hmm.
But in that crack moment, I felt just a tiny bit of relief, to a
Mm-hmm.
point where I could breathe and not be, I was still sick, but not so sick. So I told my friend, and he said, that was God's crack.
That was God.
That was him coming through. He said, God don't, I mean, he's God. He can come any kind of way he wants to come. He said, and I believe he came in the form of a crack.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Wow.
next day, I was like 70% better. I forgot what the
Wow.
percentage was I used in the book, but I was better. And once I got well, I said, I collected all my thoughts. I wrote down everything that I could remember
Mm-hmm.
that happened, because I didn't want to forget, like the crack. I almost
Mm-hmm.
forgot to tell you about that crack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I wrote all this stuff down, Mike. And the next thing I knew, I said, I'm writing a book. I
Mm-hmm.
want people to know about what I went through. It was me, Satan with his little nasty self was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then God was in there and being quiet and watching me see how I was going to, do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was
Almost as
COVID.
if you were going to be obedient and come to him and ask him something. Wow, that's deep. And let me tell you, I believe every word you just said. So
Yes.
let's move on because I got some stuff I want to ask you. First of all, let's talk about comedy, 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 because
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
your business. That is
Mm-hmm.
your business. What is first of all, what is going on with comedy today? There's so much going on with comedians, and sometimes even I heard wasn't Cheryl Underwood? It was another young lady who was saying, with people coming up on stage like they did with the young man that's from here, Dave Chappelle.
Dave
You
Chappelle.
know,
Uh-huh.
the guy Dave Chappelle was up there doing his thing, and the guy comes up on stage to attack Dave Chappelle. and they have to pull him off. They beat him up or what have you. What is going on with comedy now? Where do you feel like people? We've got so many people that are on social media.
Yeah, yeah.
And I call them the keyboard bullies, where comedians to me don't have the freedom of speech that they used to have, where they can tell jokes at any expense and make us laugh. So
Right.
at the expense of all of that, because you are a comedian, you got the mic. And I think comedians are the only ones that can take that mic and paint a picture for us in any fashion, be it with stereotypes or whatever, and make us laugh. But I'm starting to feel like their rights as a comedian are being taken away. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Mike, this is my sixth decade
Mm,
watching comedy. I've
yes.
seen thousands of comics. When I
Mm,
tell you thousand, I mean
yeah.
a
I believe,
lot
yeah.
of comics, all nationalities, all generations. I've seen comics from,
Colors.
um, I think
Creed.
Chris Thomas may have been 14 when I first saw him.
Yes.
Um, I remember when Rodney Dangerfield got started in his late 50s.
Mm,
So I've watched comedians because I'm always going to an open mic. I'm always going
yeah.
to shows. I'm a comic, and
Right.
I'm one of those comics that I have a story. So
Mhm.
I enjoy telling parts of my story. But with respect to what's happening today, comedy has evolved every 10 years the way
Mhm.
it's been exposed to me.
Mhm.
Every you first had your chitlin that I remember. I'm
Chitlin
saying
Circuit.
there's some
Mhm.
other stuff that probably came before me when
Mhm.
they used to have the jesters in the king's court and all that other good stuff where
Right.
they tried to make the king and the queen laugh. But I remember the chitlin circuit when you had people like Red Fox and Pigmeat Markham and Nipsey Russell. These are
The
guys who
greats.
came,
Yeah.
the greats, the real greats,
Wow.
who, was a time when uh, comics opened up for singers,
Mhm.
and now it's like it's reverse. It's
Mhm.
done that about four times.
Mhm.
Comics open for singers, singers open for comics,
Comic.
comics open,
Mhm.
open for it's just done that. And I'm gonna get to your point
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I just wanted to
No,
uh,
thank you. No,
bring
that's
forth,
good.
preface it with
Give us some
why.
history on that. You're right. Right. Yeah.
And so, in watching comedy evolve after the pandemic, and actually before the pandemic, when the internet was a whole new entity in comedy, I've always believed that people, comics especially, should have the right to talk on any subject they want,
Mhm.
as
As I.
long as it's funny. And a lot of people, when they go, especially today, when they go to a comedy show, they don't want to be the show. They want to go to the show and enjoy the show, have
Oh,
fun. They want to
yes.
laugh. They want to sit back and just get. But when they become the focus of the
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
now it's another ball game.
Yeah.
And some people, with all the mental depression going on, with all of the anxiety and all this other stuff going on, some people in today's climate can't handle that.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, they just
Yeah.
they just can't.
I
So
understand.
now,
Yeah.
as a comic, you have to be cognizant of certain subjects. This is my take now.
Oh,
I'm
I
not.
understand. Yeah.
This isn't a
Oh.
rule. This isn't
Mhm.
the rule. But I think it might be fast becoming the rule based on stuff that's going on now.
Mhm.
Um, you have a guy who's been married to his wife, or if you have two guys who are partners and they just got, just got married, and or women who just met each other and enjoy want to show them a good time, and then you guys go out and they make you look like a fool trying to be funny using you as the person to be
As the
funny.
prop. Yeah.
Yeah, then you got a new date that you're, excited about being out with, and they come out and pinch you down to the ground. Some people find it hilarious. I'm an old school comic.
Mhm.
You come at me, just be prepared.
To get
Because
it.
I'm not
Keep
gonna
coming
let you
back.
just say anything to me and you just
Yeah.
get it and that's it. So you
Yeah.
have people, they aren't comics. They're coming there to enjoy the show. They don't want to be the show.
Yes.
They just don't want to be it. And it's like, unfortunately, that's what that has evolved to today. So comics are going to have to, I've talked with a lot of veteran comedians about this particular subject. They're going to have to make a decision
when they go on stage? Do you want a chance getting into an altercation based on today's, what they're doing today? Do you not care? Do you just want to make people laugh at anybody's expense?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's such a good thing. Like, I've never been one to laugh at handicap jokes, people who are handicapped or mentally disabled. I've seen a couple of those jokes that they're pretty funny. But you got to take into account, you have parents of people like that. You have folks who are the children of people like that. It's like, I think nowadays comics are going to have to be a little more considerate. And this whole thing about it's just comedy. No, it's not just comedy. No, it's not. You might think it's just comedy, but you have to realize now it's a whole different world today.
Yeah. And people that are dealing with mental illness and stress and life.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like.
That's a great point. No, that is a great point. And educational too. We have to be cognizant of other people's feelings. And do you want to take that chance? Because somebody, you're out there in the open and somebody could have a gun, a knife, run up on stage.
Whew,
and there you are. Just
what one comic told me, Mike? A comic told me, well, they just shouldn't come to comedy shows. I'm like, okay, all right, if that's what you feel, that people shouldn't. Okay, suppose the majority of the people felt like that. They're like, they don't want to be the show. They want to come and enjoy comedy. But you're going to make them you're going to make them the show. Now, I get comics. Now, I got to say this. If you're in the audience and you speak out to a comic who's on stage trying to do their set, and you got a whole bunch of little joning, or you want to fire that comic up, in my opinion, they have a right to come for you.
Oh, they do. Absolutely.
They got a right to come for you.
Yeah.
I've seen Tony Woods tear people down.
Yeah.
That
you're crazy if you go into a place with like a Tony, Chris, D.O. Hughley,
yes,
Monique.
Yes.
You heckle these people, you're gonna get shredded.
And you deserve I'm okay with all of that.
Yeah.
Because they came there to entertain you. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
You want to go to a show and laugh, not be the laugh.
Yeah.
Well, they want to do their show and be the show and not let you try to be their show.
They're getting paid, you're not.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I agree. In 1974, you were Miss Black America. You won the Miss Black America pageant, and you tied with the one and only Miss Thelma of Good Times. How in the world look, I'm telling you girls are just as pretty as y'all can be. What was it like to tie with Thelma at that particular time and be able to tour and do all of these things that you did at such a young age? You were setting. I mean, that's Black history right there, Sylvia. To have done that, to have tied with someone like Thelma, and then to have toured and put yourself out there in front of soldiers, in front of people, just to make them laugh. What was that experience like for you? Was it frightening? Was it exciting? Was it all of that?
It was truly all of that, because number one, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know that I was going to be. I didn't know the history was about to kick off. I had no clue. All I wanted to do was find a platform to perform, because young Black girls like me, there were no comedy clubs. There were no stages I could go get on. My performances included birthday parties, weddings, cabarets, people's houses, the living room, backyard. Those are the stages that I had, because there were no Black clubs. There were no places that I could go and perform just so people could see me there. So I was watching Flip Wilson one night, and there were four, but only three of them came out on the stage, because I just watched the clip. It's on YouTube. And they were so gorgeous and beautiful. And they were on the Flip Wilson show, a national TV show. And I said, I got to do that show. I have to figure out how to do it. And I did. I figured out how to enter the Miss Black America pageant.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea how big this was going to be, how big it was going to be. Because the year before, Oprah Winfrey was a contestant. So I missed Oprah by 1 year. Okay.
Wow.
Then when that night of the pageant, they had already done all the bathing suit competition, the talent competition, the question and answer. And they announced, they said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a tie. We have a tie. We got to break the tie. With Bernadette Stannis and Sylvia Traymore Morrison come out to the stage.
And you're thinking, are you,
I was thinking, because she wasn't Thelma at the time.
Right.
So she was just another girl, just like I was another girl to her. So when we got on the stage, I'm sure we were both thinking, I got to beat her. I have to. And I mean, that's what women do, in the competition. You want to win.
Right.
And they broke the tie with a question. And I beat her out. But that very night, Mike, she got the card to come in the audition for the Good Times spot. They sent me to Europe to entertain the American troops of the Vietnam War.
Wow.
Now, when I tell you thousands and thousands and thousands of men and women in uniform, I had no clue that's what I was going up against. And to be honest, I was tickled pink because the more the merrier for me.
Exactly.
I was ready. So Bernadette went on to
Good Times.
And while I was in Europe, a guy was watching. I'm sorry, not watching. He was reading and hearing about this Black girl over in Europe entertaining the troops who did impressions. And he wanted to see me. So when I got back to the States, they flew me out to California. And I walked into the room and there he was, Red Fox. And he signed me right on the spot. He saw me.
And your manager, right?
Yeah, my first management. They told me when I went in the room, they said, okay, let's see what you do. Let's see what you got. Let's see what we've heard all about.
Here you're making history again. Look, piece of history. Yes, go ahead.
It's like, how many people get Red Fox that want to manage?
Exactly. Yes.
And so I'm sure like Dick Gregory, because Dick Gregory was so smart, if you ask me. Here it is. Muhammad Ali is being roasted, Mike, and I'm moving ahead a little bit because
it's on my list, and you're doing great.
Okay, so because
this is in 1979 when you're hosting. You've been now called to host the Muhammad Ali roast.
Right. Now, I did not know at the time that I was the only female up to this day who's ever hosted a major roast. You see women on the roast, but you don't see them hosting.
I've never seen a woman host it.
No, I'm her.
This day, you're the only woman that I've seen actually host it. If you really want to know the truth, it's always been men.
That's what they did the research and said we couldn't find a woman who hosted a major roast. So I'm hosting, and here's why I say Dick Gregory along with Red Fox. Now that I've had a chance to live and understand and recognize, because Mr. Gregory and I talked about this before too, and Richard Pryor called the day of the roast because he was supposed to host the roast and said he couldn't do it. So they had nobody that could fill in this spot. And one of the girls I went to Europe with was friends with Mr. Gregory. And she said, no, look, Sylvia and I traveled to Europe. We went everywhere. She will kill it if you bring her in. And he said, bring her in. You know why? Because he knew that there were no other women. He knew he was going to be doing something iconic by bringing a Black female in. We're talking 1979, bringing a Black female to host a major roast that nobody had ever heard of. They didn't do that back then. Nobody knew who I was. Man, I didn't even know who I was. I was trying to know, who are you, Sylvia? But so that was like, I didn't understand at the time that was going down. That was going down in history.
History, yes.
You got Red Fox, and you got who replaces Richard Pryor?
Sylvia Traymore Morrison. Sylvia Traymore Morrison.
And I never tried to act like I could compete with Mr. Pryor because Richard, for me, was the best. He was the best. I loved Red Fox. At that time, Bill Cosby was hot too.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Cosby was hot.
Bill Cosby was there, right?
Yeah, they
All
you
the yeah,
name anybody, they were there. It was
yeah.
wall to wall people, Mike. It was like ball players, NBA, NFL. As a matter of fact, Jim Brown and Fred Williamson were on the roasting panel.
Yeah. Everybody
And
was there.
I went up to Fred Williamson because I didn't have a script. They brought me in at like 5 o'clock. The roast was going to start at 7. There was no script for me.
Mm.
So I laugh when I think about this. When I went to Fred Williamson, I said, Mr. Williamson, what would you like me to say about you? And he looked me up and down. Now, keep in mind, I'm 26 years old.
Uh-huh.
I weigh about 103 pounds,
Uh-huh.
if that much. And today, when I tell a story, people say, well, he didn't look at you so hard because your skin was not the right color. Didn't care. At the time, I didn't care
Uh-huh.
because I'm hosting the Muhammad Ali roast.
Absolutely.
And it was that night. That night was so big in my career because Garrett Moore, not only did Muhammad Ali come out on stage and grab my hand, took me to the front of the stage and held it up in the air.
Mm.
Not only did he do all of that and
Mm-hmm.
told me how great I was and so forth, because I did my impression of him for the first time.
Mm.
Nobody's seen a woman do a man.
So
You know what I'm saying?
In between your hosting, you were doing pieces of your act.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To fill in because I didn't have a script. So, I would come out as Jane Hathaway from the Beverly Hillbillies, the secretary to Mr. Drysdale, Mr. Glover, Jethro, Muhammad Ali, and oh my God, Jim Brown. I would just.
Wow. Bravo.
And as a matter of fact, Aunt Esther, Wanda Page, and I met up in the bathroom that night. She said, you know what? I'm friends with Nancy Cup. And I'm going to tell her, that's the Jane Hathaway from the thing, because, Esther was on the Fred Sanford show, and of course Nancy Cope was on the
Beverly Hillbillies.
The Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
And so after the roast, Garrett Morris from Saturday Night Live came over to where I was sitting, and he said, "Oh my God, you have to meet my boss. His boss is Lorne Michaels, executive."
And this segue you into Saturday Night Live, where you became a writer for Saturday Night Live. History again.
No, because they didn't have Mr. Michael sat there and he told me, he said, you know what, Sylvia, we're going to need you to help us when we do skits about Black women. Because every time we do a skit about a Black woman, it fails. It just doesn't work.
Because they have white writers doing it. Yeah.
They couldn't identify with the whole Black.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't stay at Saturday Night Live long. I saw what was happening, what people talk about today. I saw it early because I wasn't given the opportunity to go on camera. He told me I'd have to work my way up to go on camera. And then I questioned it. I questioned that years later because I said, well, did John Belushi have to work his way up? Did Gilda Radner have to work her way up? Did Jane Curtin have to work her way up? Why am I the only one? I'm the only Black female, and I got to work my way up in order to come out. So, it was like it's all good because no matter what, Monique said this to me. I said, Monique, I really didn't stay with Saturday Night Live long. She said, you know what, Miss Sylvia, let me tell you something, sugar. Let me tell you something now. You were there, baby.
That's right.
She said, I don't care if you only stayed one night. You were there.
You were there. It's a part of your legacy.
It was. So.
Yes. When you prepare yourself even today for a show, what do you pull from? How do you know what you're doing? How is there a plan? Is there a script in your head? Because you are an impressionist. You take characters just like you did with Jane Hathaway, and you bring them to life on stage, which just makes you a unique storyteller and comedian because you're not out there doing and I don't want, this is not to demean comedy, whoever does it. You're not out there naturally telling jokes.
Right.
You're bringing characters and you're entertaining us, and it's sometimes even bigger than the joke. Do you know what I mean? Because you sound just like Jane Hathaway when you do that. You sound just like Michelle Obama when you poke their lips out and you do all that. So you become these characters right on stage, right in front of us. Diana Ross, Dionne Warwick, What do you pull from? How do you know what you're doing? Where does that come from?
You know, I really like that question because after 54 years of
Mm-hmm.
doing this professionally, it's almost like all anyone has to do is tell me how much time they want me to do,
Mm.
um, where, how, and what. Now, if I'm going in the blind, like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, I'm one of the top three virtual personalities in the
Mm-hmm.
country.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know who I am, but I've done like close to 300
Mm-hmm.
in
Wow.
this pandemic era.
Wow.
And sometimes I might be on a virtual that may have 60 people,
Mm-hmm.
may have two or whatever. And a lot of it is mostly on the spot stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to shows, I know that if they only want me to do 20 minutes, I
Mm-hmm.
have a 20-minute. I've been doing it for so long. I kind of know when my 20 minutes is up. As
You
a matter
can
of
feel the
fact,
time almost, right?
yeah, yeah. When I was in Vegas, when Monique invited me out to Vegas on her legacy,
Mm-hmm.
when she was on her resident, I'm sorry, on her legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it
Mm-hmm.
was her legacy, it's part of her legacy.
Mm-hmm.
When she invited me out to Vegas when she was doing her residency, Rodney Perry was going over her show with her, who's going on, what time they're going, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked Monique, he said, so Monique, how much time does Miss Sylvia get? And it was so funny, Mike, because Monique turned around her chair and said, say what? Excuse me, Rodney, you don't tell a legend how much
How
time they're
much
supposed
time?
to do. That woman been doing this for so long. She knows when to go up and when to come down. We ain't even got to tell. And she was so right
He's right.
because I respect everywhere I go to perform.
Mm.
I'm not going to go over my time knowing that the daggone headline. If I'm hosting, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to just run it in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I have been around long enough to know how, not only know how to run a show, but how the show should be run.
Mm.
So yeah, it's like I just like right now, if somebody was to come and say, Sylvia, Beyonce downstairs, she said she want to see 10 minutes of your set. Come on down. I already know. I'm ready.
You've
I've been
already
ready since,
calculated it in your
yeah,
head. You know exactly what this 10
yes,
minutes are going to be, how many characters you can fit in, what you can
right,
do. It just comes natural to you.
right.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's a gift.
It is.
That
It
is a
really is
gift.
because I know I was telling somebody about my good friend Greg Cooper, who went on the Tonight Show. And Greg is so gifted. He's an impressionist as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Cosby took him on the Tonight Show.
Mm-hmm.
And when they tell you, Mike, as you know, because I already know a lot of your history too. So I know that you know this. When they tell you on those major platforms, you got 90 seconds.
Mm.
They don't mean 110.
Mm.
They don't mean 97. They don't mean 82. They mean 90
90
seconds.
seconds to the
You got
bone.
90 seconds.
Yes.
And if you don't succumb to that 90-second rule, you might get cut off or whatever, because then you got 90 seconds. When I
Yeah.
first hit the road with Whitney Houston, my first night, I had to do 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, it was Whitney Houston. It was like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
Whitney Houston. And I was so nervous about going over my 30 minutes. I only did 28.
Mm-hmm.
I almost lost the job because of that. They almost took me off the tour.
Mm-hmm.
Her road manager, whoever, stage manager said, Sylvia, we need 30 minutes, not 28, not 29 and a half. We need 30,
Mm-hmm.
not 31.
Wow.
And I guarantee you for the next 22 cities, I gave them 30 minutes.
Wow.
Not a second over or a second under, or maybe a couple seconds.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. And you
Yeah.
have to be professional because that, just like you said, you can lose a job by not obeying by the time.
Right,
Then you
right.
become a difficult artist because now you run over. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And people want to, what I know too is especially when you're dealing with stage managers, production people, they have a job to do.
absolutely.
Their job is hard. Staging is hard. So
Right,
sometimes you don't have time to be nice. You don't have time to, and not that you should be rude, but sometimes you're trying to get that work done and that job
right.
done, and
Hmm.
you're very curt about it. Which is, I remember, I think it was the time that, I think that's when I met you. We met at a it was a Toys for Tots. Do you? I don't. You
Yep.
remember this? We were doing you were doing a Toys for Tots. You were hosting that night, and April Jones. I still talk to
Yes.
April and Reggie. Still talk to
Yes.
them today. I was there with April, and April was hosting.
Right.
Who was
Right.
hosting that? And I was working the line. I was actually working the camera that night, and I was
Mm-hmm.
working the line. I remember working that line, and I was pretty tough
Yeah.
on the line. It didn't matter who you were,
Yeah.
didn't matter how
Yeah.
you whatever. If
Oh no, you can't. You
Yeah,
bought it. You
I
bought it.
pretty much brought it, and I
Yes.
remember you looking at me and you said, we just connected." It was a moment where we connected, and I came off the job, meaning you broke my work thing because we just connected and had a
Yes,
little
we
bit of fun,
did.
and then I
Yes,
had
we
to go
did.
right back to my mode. But we hit it off, and we have been friends ever since then. And then I even started to work with you a little
Yes.
bit with just videotaping and doing stuff with you. But I want to
And I
ask you a
gotta
little.
say this, Mike,
Yes,
and I know I told you this earlier, but you were the first person to do a video on me, and it was so
that's
professional.
crazy. That's
It
crazy.
was, and this was what, 10, 12 years. You would, I mean, you told me, you said, no, you need a video. Everything you said
Yeah,
to me that back then was so kind and professional and real. You didn't have, there was nothing fake about you. There
yeah,
was nothing underhand, sneaky type. It
yeah,
just wasn't. You
yeah,
just bought it. You just came and bought it. And
yeah.
I remember thinking, I told my girlfriend, I said, wait until you meet Mike. I've never met anybody like him. Never,
Wow, wow.
never. And when you did that video, it's still on YouTube. I did about 4 or 5 impressions. I forgot exactly,
Oh my
but it's
God.
reached thousands of views now.
So
It's in
many views because when I
Yes,
say you took that video and ran with it, but one of my favorite videos is when we went down to the waterfront. You were going to perform. Do you remember that? That waterfront
yes,
doesn't even look like that anymore. But you were
no,
going to be performing at the waterfront, and we did these little tapings outside, and it was just so much magic in that
yes,
video. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was so young then, and video, and I was studying stuff online, and trying to figure everything out
and you
as a
did.
producer. And yeah, I
You
figured
knew
it
how
out.
to figure it out.
Yeah.
And Mike, I don't know if you know this or not, but that night when I had that show at Hogate's, now
Col-
I ain't even know how
Colgate.
to do nothing. I
That's it.
found out that they left the parking lot door open downstairs. And that's where it's like 100 and some people got in and didn't have to pay.
Oh my God.
And I said, I bet I said, I bet Mike doesn't know this. And because when the people that sat near
Oh
me
my
said,
God.
oh, we just walked in. And I'm like,
Oh my
because
God.
they only had one waitress. We ended up having close to 400 people there.
That place was packed.
Yeah.
There were no seats available. There were no seats available. It was packed. It was a packed house. Oh my God. And I met Betty Edsminger.
Yes.
Betty
Yes.
was there. That was the first time I met Betty, working the room.
Yes.
And she was asking me if I knew this person. You got to get with this person. It was a magical night. Will never forget that night. We had so much fun. Chris was there. I met Chris that night.
Yes.
Went on to work with Chris a little bit, in his career and stuff like that with him over at Radio One and stuff like that. I'm still waiting for you and Chris to do your one woman, one man show of
Mhm.
impressions. I want to buy that ticket where I just see you and him on stage in this theatrical setting and coming on and doing your thing. You guys have no idea the magic you bring to stage.
Well, that's
When you guys
interesting
are
because,
together, Sylvia, it's delicious comedy. It's
wow.
exquisite, but it's also very classy. Even when Chris is nasty, because he can get nasty. He
Yes,
can go there, but he makes people laugh.
yes, he
But you
does.
guys are so good together, so good together.
We just recently did a show with Chris and some of the guys from Def Comedy Jam. It's a Def Comedy Jam tour.
Uh huh.
Hamburger, Chris, Kevin
Mhm.
Anthony, Shucky Ducky. It was like a great show, and they brought me in as a special guest for Mother's Day.
Wow. Uh huh.
And Chris said, Sylvia, why don't we do you and I do a bit on this show, even though I'm not a Def Jam comic.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, the place was nice and packed. It was, well lit the whole bit. The sound was great. And Chris and I got out there and it was magic. Pure magic.
Like you guys could take Barack and Michelle and just do a whole skit on that alone.
We did. We did Barack and Michelle. We did Billy D. Williams and Donna Ross.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, I wish I'd seen that.
We
Sylvia.
did was it Bernie Mac and Patti LaBelle?
Oh, you guys, oh, that's it. Yeah.
We did. It
Yeah.
was, I mean, the audience roared. They loved
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah.
and I think for me, that's what people come to see. They want to laugh. They want to be entertained. They want to be wild. They want to be, they want to talk about it when they leave. That was a good, and that's what they did.
And good comedy, just good, something that's good. And my bid is still in on you and Chris. I'm really hoping that one day, I'm just throwing it out there, it would really be wonderful to see a great produced show with you and him, script from front to back, some sets, almost just like a theater setting.
Yeah,
And have you guys come out there and just nail your impressions, because no one does it like you guys. And I'm not just saying that
Thank
because you guys are on. You guys have been doing this long enough. You know it. It's like running water to you guys. And I've seen Chris just walk out on stage. He can be over here doing one thing, and he just walks out there, and something, just a light bulb just comes on. And it's the same for you. So I really hope one day you guys can make that happen.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And I want people to know that it was quite a journey.
Mm-hmm.
That God blessed me not to see it the way the world would see it. Because I've had people to say, well, why do you even want to do it? Why do you want to, why do you keep doing that?
And so, Sylvia, that brings me to this. What keeps you going?
Passion. I have, and Mike, I'm going to say this about you right quick. You were one of the first people that I saw with my own eyes that had that passion. You know what?
Thank you.
I don't ever remember you asking me for a dime. For all that you did, you weren't even worried about money. Your passion, and I remember thinking about you. I said, he's like me. I just want to do it. I want to learn. I want to figure it out. I want to do. And I'm looking at you today, and so many people bring your name up. And I'm like, Mike he took that passion and he molded it into what was in his heart and in his soul for what he loves. Look at you.
Look at you.
Yeah, I'm saying, our passion.
No, thank you. I thank you. I see. I definitely see. I have that same burn that you do. That's what I think. That's how our friendship started that night.
Yeah.
You saw me, I saw you, and we were like, you got that fire, you got that thing,
You had it. You did.
Because I was looking at you even that night. I was mesmerized at you getting up on stage and I'd never seen anything like that before in my whole life. Someone to get up there and do these impersonations and go in and out. And then you would come over to the side and stand off to the side. And then you would just be you would move out of people's way. And you were so humble. And I just fell in love with you the moment. And that's
when you said to me, do you have a video out on you?
Yeah. I wanted to film you immediately. I was like, I've got to film this lady. I just want to film her. Yeah.
Thank you for that too. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad I'm getting an opportunity to thank you again because your passion was so deep. It was so there. You had April. Like a queen.
Yeah.
You filmed her as a queen, and you did that thing. So I knew I was gonna look good. When you did me, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the bomb.
I remember when we were in my apartment and we were trying to set the stage up for the Wendy Williams thing. We were putting up the backdrop. We were putting the table up. We had apples in the little thing. We were gonna set it up. We were so into it, and I just remember that was magic. That was all magic. And to this day, that video, I look at that video and go, look at what we were doing, and there you are, embodying Wendy Williams. And even then, matter of fact, it's so funny because people can know this. I remember when I got tickets, I was like,
I was just gonna say that.
I was like, because David, David, my friend, one of my best friends, David, he was like, so we're going to go to Wendy. And I said,
I
mm-mm. I
remember
have to take Sylvia.
you
I have,
did.
and I did because you had done that, and I thought this is so important to you, but it's also important for me to see you be there, and for me to just be there with you.
And I
You
got to
know,
interact with Wendy
you
too.
should. Oh my God! You got up and did the whole thing. That was such a. We got on that train and came to New York and went to that. I'll never forget that. So we've definitely had some wonderful moments and wonderful times. And
Absolutely.
I miss those, and I want us to have more of those. Um, Last words. Any words of encouragement? We're in a crazy time right now. It is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
It is.
um,
Yes.
Gun violence,
Yes.
sexism,
Oof.
mental illness,
Ah.
war. The world is doesn't function with. We got COVID. We've had something that made everybody stop. We can't even touch each other anymore.
No.
We
Yeah.
can't even give each other a hug anymore.
That's right.
What is going on is crazy, but any words of encouragement for people who might be in need of hearing something that could get them from point A to point B, to let them know, it's okay. And if you got mental illness, talk to somebody. What kind of advice could you just give anybody right now?
I think one of my favorite things to tell people is find your niche. Find out what makes your heart melt, what makes it tick. Figure it out, because each and every one of us was put here to do something. And I believe that if everybody did what God designed them to do, it would be an amazing world. Because we got some people that hate their jobs. They got to wake up and get up and go to work. God, I can't stand. I got to go in.
And they complain about it. Yeah,
Complain.
man.
I know for me, every day is so good for me because I absolutely love what I do. I'm sitting here loving being on this on your show.
Oh, not as much as me. Not as much as me.
So I would say try to find who you are and what you mean and what you're supposed to do. And if you can not worry about the money, if you can just focus on what it is that you're doing, the money will come. It will come. Yes. So
true.
Do y'all. Find out what you're supposed to be doing and do that. That's what you do.
Oh, that's beautiful. Sylvia, thank you so much for joining me today. We could go on and on.
Yeah, because I forgot to, we didn't do the Whitney Houston thing for like that, but we got that part. I'm so glad we got that whole Black people thing out there. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for all of the hard work. Thank you for still standing. You are still standing. You're still thriving. You're still getting awards. You're still making people laugh as if it was 30 years ago in New York, 40 years ago. You in New York catching those trains. You're here in D.C. making them laugh, and you're all over the world, and you're traveling like you didn't let it go. And that gives me hope. Like, some people think, as you age, you should do this, you should do that. I'm like you. You said, find your niche. We have to find that thing that makes us live and tick.
Yes.
Makes us happy. Yes. People should make you happy. You have to make yourself happy. I know that I'm responsible for my happiness. No one else is responsible for that.
That's right.
So I can't put that on anybody to make me happy. No loved one, no lover, friend, whatever.
Right.
You can't make me happy. Only I can make me happy.
Oh my God, those words. My God.
Yeah, and you just confirmed that, because we have to find our purpose, our niche. Right. You have to figure it. And you said that this is so beautiful what you said. You have to figure it out.
Yeah,
in life, you have to figure that out. That's so beautiful what you said, because even though it's not easy and you get stuck in the middle of the road, you get twisted up in a tornado, once everything's over, you got to figure it out. Get yourself back to happy, because you don't have to. We don't have to be. We don't have to be mentally ill.
Right.
And that's when I was watching Chris Cuomo. I'm going, I don't have to die.
Right.
He's working.
That's powerful.
I don't have to, he's giving me hope. that if I get it, I can live through it. He was the only hope I had seen because everyone else was dying. The news was reporting death after death.
Yes.
If you get it, you're going to die. They're going to put you on a ventilator. People are dying of COVID. So if you get it, go ahead and start making plans to get yourself in the ground. And I'm thinking, no, my God doesn't.
Good for you.
My energy and my God is not telling me that. And when I
Right.
saw Cuomo, I go, uh-oh, that's what I'm going to catch. Whatever he got, I'm catching that because he's still working.
And I think that was part of your passion, Mike. I think that was part of your passion. You watched that man who did give you hope. You know, that it let you know that, you know what, I love how you said it. I ain't gotta die.
I didn't have to die. He confirmed I don't have to die. And not only do I not have to die, I can actually have it and still function.
Right.
And be okay.
Right.
I'll get through it. You know,
Amen.
if I ever saw him, I would let him know you're probably one of the reasons, you know, God, of course, kept me.
You will see him and you will tell him.
I will tell him.
And that's another thing, Mike. I know we got to go, but I do want to say this. In my young years, I would will stuff to happen.
Manifestation.
I
believe that. Because you had too many blessings. Every time you talk about something that you've done, it's like a monumental blessing. And I'm so fascinated about your life and how you've just Red Fox, Whitney Houston, Melba Moore, and the list, Fred Sanford. I mean, and the list goes on. Back in the bathroom with Aunt Esther on a night where you're just hosting, where you replace somebody else. These are like these magical, monumental moments that you can't buy a ticket for. It's crazy, but that's your
Someone
life.
just told me the other day.
That's your life.
In addition to, Monique sent me a note one day, and you said the very words that she said to me in a note. And she said, Miss Sylvia, I just want you to know, I thank you for never quitting.
For never quitting.
Thank you for still standing.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's all she said. That's it. She didn't say nothing else. She just said, thank you. And I said, you know, Monique, one day I hope I can repay you for bringing me out to Vegas, putting me on your shows, introducing me to the world, blah, blah, blah. And she said, you've already paid.
Yeah.
You've already paid. So on that note, thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for joining the Mike Lee Show right here with the one and only legendary, the fabulous Miss Sylvia Traymore, more like ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise. It's a brand, folks.
Love that. I love you, Mike. Take care.
I love you too, baby. Love.
Okay.